in retail, automation is a productivity play, but is not a customer experience play.
Yes.
The human connection is invest heavily in our sleep experts, training, compensation, experience. That translates into a better customer experience. Our sleep experts get more training on sleep wellness than doctors do in medical school. We have some of the most highly paid retail associates in retail with some of the lowest turnover in retail, with some of the highest NPS scores in retail. We empower them with tools to help them diagnose the customer's sleep disruptors, sleep preferences, and match customers with the right sleep solution. What success looks like for us is, are you sleeping better, longer, and better quality? And we can help you measure that. No other retailer can put all of that together. With our size and scale and over 30% share of the market, like we actually can impact America's sleep. Sleep is increasingly important part of their health, and it's not a weakness to sleep. And so
Newsflash. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Experts of Experience. I'm your host, Lauren Wood. Today, I am speaking with George Hanson, the Chief Digital Officer at Mattress Firm. We're going to be diving into how innovative technologies are revolutionizing the retail space, enhancing customer satisfaction, and driving the future of seamless shopping, both online and in-store. Hey, George, thank you so much for coming on the show.
It's great to be with you and your listeners, Lauren.
Awesome. So you have a rich background and experience in both the online and physical retail spaces. You spent time at Panera, at Under Armour, at Land's End, and now at Mattress Firm. And I'm curious to just kick it off by getting your take. What are the current trends and changes and technologies that you're seeing in the market today that are really shifting how you think about retail as a whole?
I can't answer that without including artificial intelligence, right? It's something that is on everybody's radar screen. I think our approach to it is really ensuring that we don't start with the technology, but we start with the question, how can the technology enable our strategies, right? Our strategies somewhat should be agnostic to technology, or should be starting with the customer, starting with the value, the enterprise value impact, and the associate. So that's really how we think about our value framework: is what's the value to the customer, what's the value to our associate, and what's the value to the company? And then how does technology, and to your question, how do recent technologies help us accelerate, evolve, or potentially reprioritize our initiatives around that value creation? So artificial intelligence is certainly one of them. We're seeing a lot of really interesting things that we're enabling and empowering our sleep experts in the stores with. In our model, 90% of our transactions happen in the store. 90% of those customers are first starting online, but the decision point is often happening in the store, and empowering the sleep expert with that customer data, with the right product recommendations, with the right holistic approach to that in-store experience. There's a lot of technologies that we're empowering them to serve that customer better with.
George, you're hitting on perhaps my favorite topic, which is really how the employee experience drives the customer experience. And in this case, in your business at Mattress Firm, like you said, most of your business is happening in real life, on the floor, with humans, talking to humans. I'd love to just double click on what you're sharing there. And how are you empowering your team to really service your customer and their needs?
Our model is really unique. So we have some of the most highly paid retail associates in retail, with some of the lowest turnover in retail, with some of the highest NPS scores in retail. It was really surprising as I came into this business to see the role and the importance of that retail associate. It's very different than most other retail verticals. And so we empower them with tools to help them diagnose, in our case, the customer's sleep disruptors, sleep preferences, and match customers with the right sleep solution.
Mm.
And most people, when they're thinking about I need a new mattress, aren't thinking about that. But our sleep experts actually get more training on sleep wellness than doctors do in medical school. And so
Mm.
that really is the customer experience when they walk into a store. They're not being directed to what's on sale or what the sleep expert wants to sell. It starts with, what are your sleep disruptors? What are your sleep preferences? And how can we solve those? And so
Mm.
everything is really built around making that easier for the sleep expert. And then to the extent the customer is coming into the store, first visiting the website, preparing the customer for that store visit and educating them and building their confidence level in a category that they only
Mm.
buy maybe from once every 8 years.
Yeah. Wait, tell me a little bit more about that. How do you prepare the customer for that transition from online to in person?
Yeah. So we have what's called Mattress Matcher, which is a really, in the back end of it is very sophisticated, taking the customer's self-determined sleep disruptors. So is it back pain? Is it snoring? Do I have sleep apnea? Like, what are my sleep disruptors? And then what are my sleep preferences? And
Mm.
there's other factors around, when do I need it? What's my budget? Those things. But that narrows down what is one of the largest selections of mattresses in specialty retail to just a few for you to consider and pre-shop and really do some research on. Go to the store, work with a sleep expert, get some additional context, and then actually try them. I mean,
Mm.
most people that while buying mattresses online sight unseen certainly has been growing, the vast majority, people, especially at our price points, people want to try and they
Hmm.
want to feel comfortable on it. And so
Yeah.
that's the online sort of preparing for the store visit. Um, and the data that we collect from the customer online transitions to the store, so the sleep expert can basically help you pick up from where you left off and now start to bring the digital experience to the physical experience, and you start to
Hmm.
feel the difference of the product.
Yeah, completely. It's so interesting. Like, I can't think of that many examples of businesses where that is the case, where you're online doing in-depth research, educating yourself, and then going into a store and having a continuous experience where you're picking up where you're leaving
We think
off. And
about
it's,
Yeah, we think
yeah.
about the
No, go
car
ahead.
industry. We think about the car
Yeah.
industry very similarly, right?
Hmm.
Before you might go to the Tesla dealership to do the test drive, you might do some preliminary research. And so
Hmm.
it's big ticket, high consideration, low frequency type of model. And it is a very different experience than buying apparel online or ordering lunch online. And so we have to be really considerate about it, not only in both phases, in the pre-store visit and in the store visit. And
Hmm.
those, quite frankly, used to be very siloed experiences. And so what
Yeah.
we have been focusing on is bridging them. And you got to bridge that
Hmm.
with data and with capability. And
Hmm.
those things are enablers. Both of those are technology based, but it's all driven around, where the customer is in their journey, what level of confidence do they have when they start their journey, what are their expectations when they've invested that time doing some research and they're going to the
Hmm.
store. Um, it's amazing how much trust the customers have once they actually work with a sleep expert, and the experience is disarming. A lot of people go in thinking it's going to be an intimidating experience. It's a category that they don't understand. They don't buy
Hmm.
very often. Is it going to be like a used car sales experience? And it's the absolute opposite. And so they become really a sleep wellness consultant, to the surprise of
Hmm.
most of our customers, because they're not expecting that.
Yeah, completely. Tell me a little bit more about this bridge from the digital to the physical. And you had mentioned picking up where they left off, allowing the customer, if they've done X amount of research, how is that knowledge then transferred to your sleep experts, or how can they actually create that seamless experience? I'm so curious about that piece.
We try to get customers to do the online version of the mattress matcher because that's really the core. Those are the core inputs to what we believe will become ultimately the best recommendation for their sleep
Mm-hmm.
solution. And I keep saying sleep solution because we don't just view it as a mattress. Like your whole sleep solution includes the pillow that represents about 25% of your sleep surface. It impacts your sleep health. So that information is really important. And a lot of people, a lot of customers fill that out online, and that can get directly sent to your sleep expert. And that
Mm-hmm.
sleep expert then gets assigned to you. If you want to go into the store, you can pick up where you left off, and you can be directed to where those beds are, try them, talk to them, understand some of the alternatives. So it starts with that experience online, creating an account, that account seamlessly transitioning to our stores. The customer identifies themselves very simply with a phone number. The information and profile comes up. The sleep expert can see what you did online, whatever you've chosen to provide as permissions, and then
Mm-hmm.
seamlessly takes you through the store experience. And you can choose, if you choose to buy it, you can choose to buy in the store. The sleep expert can, send you a link to what you looked at or tried with notes
Mm.
in the store, and you can check out back home with a link. So we really make that experience, how the customer wants it's in their hands on how they want to shop with us.
Mm-hmm. And it also sounds like it's kind of amazing for your sleep experts to have information on the person who they're supporting ahead of time. They don't have to ask all those questions or do all that digging. They can really just like jump into providing value initially from the sounds of it, which is great.
It's really important for the customer to feel like it is seamless, it is connected. I don't have to start over, and I'm going to build on the experience and the investment I've already put in versus start over.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's
Yeah.
that's how we're determining what success looks like.
Mm.
And we ask the customer about that. Where are the friction points? And those are the ones we're constantly, working to solve.
Yeah. Nobody likes to say the same thing twice. Nobody likes to have to repeat themselves or go through the same process over and over again. I think that's something that we can see across all industries, whether it is, B2B SaaS or retail apparel situations. It really applies all over across the board. We want the most seamless experience. And I think the consumer expectations around that are becoming higher and higher because we get to experience things like what you're describing at Mattress Firm. If we see it in one place, we're going to expect it elsewhere. And so I really see it as having a competitive edge to think about what are those friction points for a customer and how do we reduce them no matter the circumstances.
And we to build on that, we think about it pre-purchase, of course, during the purchase, and then post-purchase. And so what I think is also very unique about Mattress Firm is because the sleep expert customer relationship is truly one-on-one. I mean, most stores
Mm-hmm.
only have two or three sleep experts. So it's a very client sleep expert one-to-one relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that we actually have decentralized CRM, which most times most retailers think about CRM as really data driven from corporate, personalizing those emails, but not really. This
Mm-hmm.
is follow up is one to one, and it's the customer giving that sleep expert that trust and permission to say, yeah, you can text me, yes, please
Yep.
call me, yes, I'm in market shopping, I'm not ready to buy today, but I
Yep.
might need some advice tomorrow. And so we really what I think is fascinating is we actually have some rules in place that creates like air traffic control. Like central marketing stops communicating with a customer once we've flagged that the sleep expert is in, like, has ownership of that
Mm.
communication path for a set amount of time, so that we're being
Yep.
considerate about the customer not getting bombarded by less contextual messages it might be data relevant, but less contextual than their one-to-one relationship. So in many ways, we're taking sort of the best of classic retail where it was just human to human and having digital be a servant to that experience rather than a leader.
Oh my gosh. Like bells are ringing in my head because you're saying things that I just so fundamentally agree with. This concept of pausing marketing emails so that you can allow that human to human relationship to be the focal point it's harder than it looks, for one thing, because marketing's like, we got to do our thing. And, it's complicated wires to run for sure. But really focusing on what is good about the retail experience. People like talking to humans. We don't only want to talk to computers. And so I'm curious to get your thoughts on what do you feel is something that should almost be considered sacred in the retail space? Like, what are those attributes of that human to human relationship that you're really wanting to bring in and preserve as you advance digitally?
In this age, I think so many retailers and restaurants are figuring out how to automate the physical environment and take humans and reduce the amount of humans in the interfacing with customers. And I saw some of it happening in the restaurant industry before, and in retail. So automation is a productivity play, but is not a customer experience play. And so I think the human connection is the way we think about it is invest heavily in our sleep experts, training, compensation, experience, and that translates into a better customer experience. And their their compensation model is also commission based, so they're incented to serve the customer and build those relationships, because that's how they earn their compensation. And so they only earn when they succeed in helping the customer ultimately sleep better. That's really the highest level of how we evaluate success. And it's not just the mattress sale, it is, are they actually sleeping better? And we check in with our customers and ask that question. And we have actually tools and digital technologies and properties that allow, if the customer wants to track their sleep with us on our sleep.com app, that can be part of their sleep coaching relationship with their sleep expert if they want. So it goes well beyond the transaction. And I think that is lost in retail in many verticals.
Yeah. No, we're trading efficiency for experience so often. And I think that's the thing that personally I'm the most concerned about with AI. I think AI can bring so many benefits and actually free up time for us to spend more time thinking about that human experience. But I see a lot of companies, a lot of clients of mine starting to get caught up in we can just be more efficient. We can just remove that one-to-one relationship. We don't need to have phone calls, or we don't need to have two people speaking to each other. The tech will solve it. And I think it's such a dangerous game to play. What are your thoughts?
So I totally agree if it's meant to replace. Where I see the value, you mentioned AI, where I see the value is, can AI help us identify, a more urgent customer feedback theme? Can AI help us, determine which customer really needs that follow-up sooner because, of whatever signals we're ingesting. So as an aid to humans, as opposed to replacement to humans, is really the filter and lens that we're thinking about. And again, having that technology be the servant rather than the leader.
100%. I recently heard the analogy that AI is like having 1,000 interns, but you're never going to give, your customer relationship to the intern. You might have them listen in and help you and do some research and assist in the process, but you're not just going to let them manage your customer relationship. And I think that's really what we need to think about in this context of how can we use it as an aid? How can we use it alongside us to do what is most important better.
Yeah. And there's definitely some automation, that AI helps with, for in our case, rescheduling a delivery. Like those are things that quite frankly, if the customer wants to talk to a human about that, we make that super easy. But
Yeah.
our intent is actually in our research and our, all of that tells us the customer just, they have to take their kid to soccer practice. That 2 p.m. delivery doesn't work anymore. They need to move it to 4. Let's make that
Mm-hmm.
super easy and not have to
Yeah.
wait for a human to do that. And so like those are
Completely.
choices, but those choices still ladder up to that's what the customer wants.
Yeah.
And this is where technology can help enable that or make that
Mm-hmm.
less, friction, make that more frictionless.
Completely. And I also just want to caveat what I've said to everybody who's listening. I think that AI can 100% communicate with your customers. In this situation that you just shared, I don't want to talk to a human. I just want it to be done. And there's many circumstances where that is the case. But when we do want to talk to a human, or when we do need information that goes beyond what AI can really deliver, or maybe we just actually want a human to say it instead of a computer. Like all those cases are potentially true. And it's our job as CX leaders to really define when is it best to be a human and when do we not need that human in the loop. And I think that preferences are also ever changing from a consumer standpoint. I think we'll probably see more and more appetite for a digital solution versus a human solution. But I think we really need to be listening to our customers to understand what is that appetite and where are we enabling a stronger relationship with the use of AI, and where are we maybe taking away from our relationship through the use of AI.
And relationship is built on trust. And so being really transparent about what's powering the experience right now. Like there's so
Totally.
much emphasis right now on like the human voice and the natural voice, which I think is great because it is a better customer experience. But tell me that it is. Don't try
Yeah.
to pull one over on me to say, well, I think I'm talking to a human, or I assumed I was talking with a human. Just be honest about that. It's
Yeah.
okay. I think
Yeah.
transparency always wins. It shouldn't be a question, and the experience can be better. But let's just be honest that it isn't a human. I
Mm-hmm.
think I think that's important.
1000%. We are clearly in an AI revolution. And thankfully, Salesforce is helping customers navigate each new wave of AI. But the question is, how do you actually use AI effectively? And my answer to you is it starts with your data. With Salesforce's Data Cloud, you can connect, federate, and harmonize all of your data from any product and system in Salesforce. To learn more, visit salesforce.com/products/data. So you've been in this role, tell me if I'm wrong, about a year now, more or less?
Just under.
What are some of the big learnings that you've had in moving into this type of retail environment and working on these types of problems?
The biggest learning has been the role of the retail associate and how
Mm,
central they are to the customer experience and to our business model.
hmm.
Our sleep
Yep.
experts, our entire business revolves around our sleep experts.
Hmm. Yep.
Of course, the product and the assortment, and no one comes in without that. But um, the sleep expert and the role of the retail environment in our business is so important. The
Hmm.
role of digital in helping make that a better experience, both for the customer pre-store visit and the sleep expert through the tools and the data that we enable and empower them with, really, really
Hmm.
important. For example, we have built our own internal sleep expert facing app, which includes everything from a store version of Mattress Matcher, which is the experience that the customer has when they walk into the store. They go through
Hmm.
this diagnostics. It also includes lead management and that customer management. These are tools that we didn't go buy off the shelf or buy from existing solution. These were built in-house, not because we are opposed to external solutions, but these are really, really customized for our business, for our retail sleep expert and for our customers' needs. And that has been a surprise how intentional those feature sets are, how intentional the experience flow and journeys are, and how data driven they are. If you can imagine across 2,400 stores, 6,000 sleep experts, you have different levels of adoption of these capabilities. And what has been super impressive for me to see as I've come in is we have data showing, usage and adoption of these tools drives conversion, higher NPS scores, and higher AOVs. And so when you have that data, it's really, really compelling, for the organization versus just like, this is some executive's idea that we're now pushing down and you have to use it because that's the SOP. We actually don't require. What we require of our sleep experts is have a great place to shop for your customers, have a great place to work for your fellow sleep experts, and meet or beat your financial expectations. If you don't need to use all of the tools all of the time, we don't hold you to an adoption rate. But if you're missing your financial expectations or your NPS scores are coming down, you bet we're going to have a conversation saying, look at the rest of the country, or look at the most successful sleep experts and the highest NPS scores, and look at that. And so that data to have for the actual like store operations and store experience has been really, I've not seen it anywhere else in my retail background to have that clarity around the power and the impact of these digital capabilities that we empower our sleep experts with.
It sounds like you've really invested in making sure that your sleep experts have the technology they need to do their jobs well.
Yeah.
And it is something that I know in my experience, building and leading teams in a number of different companies, it's always been a struggle. We're investing so much on our customers' platform, but we are here without the tools we need to really fulfill on the expectations that we're creating for our customers. And I just think it's such an important point that you're highlighting here in any scenario, whether they are retail experts who are holding so much of the sale or not. I think it's just so valuable to really support our teams in giving them the tools, technology, information, data that they need in order to get the job done and to do it well and feel good about it at the same time.
The mindset that we're really creating is the sleep expert is at the same level as our customer in terms of who we design for, who we build for, and who we serve. And once you sort of align the team on that, it's not a trade-off of like customer or internal retail associate. It's just two different customers with, but they're at the same level. And that's not what I've typically seen in retail. And again, I think it has a lot to do with our model and the role of our sleep expert in our whole business and the whole experience. But once you get past that internal versus external and you put them on the same pedestal at the same level, then you can deploy the same types of resources and product teams and CX teams to solve those problems, with the same level of energy.
Yeah. It's so important. A couple years back, I did the Ritz-Carlton's customer service training. And the first thing that they teach you is that every employee at the Ritz-Carlton, every single person, no matter high up they are in the organization or not, they are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. And they are considered with that high regard in their role, just as you would consider a very wealthy, high-profile customer that's coming in to stay at the Ritz. And it's something that's just stood out to me. And as I host the show and get to speak to many different leaders, it's one of the key attributes that I see in a really strong customer-centric company is that the employees are also equal to those customers, and there's equal energy put into the experience of those two customers, whether they are internal or external to the business. So I wanted to circle back a little bit to this bridge we're talking about, that you are leading the digital into the physical and how these two things play together. And I wanted to ask you, what challenges have you faced in really creating that seamless experience from online to offline, back to online, and so forth?
The biggest challenge is really rethinking the digital experience from the customer's perspective. And so I say that because, when I look at our site, and we're evolving it very, very quickly. When I look at our site, it has been a very traditional e-commerce experience. It's almost the same way you would buy a sweater at Nordstrom, where we put 250 white squares in front of you and expect you, as the customer who only buys 8 times, once every 8 years, a high ticket, highly considered product that honestly is very difficult to establish different, value cues against. We sort of have a traditional e-commerce experience in digital, or we're moving away from that. And I think when you're shopping for a sweater at Nordstrom's, you have value cues. Cashmere is going to be should be more expensive than a synthetic. A cardigan should cost more than a vest, and a polo sweater is going to cost more than a private label sweater. Generally, like those are value cues, right? And we have a traditional e-commerce site, or had one, which is around like, here's all the products, and good luck going to filter against what you need. And so I think what we are doing is we're taking the store and the sleep expert relationship and interaction in the store, and actually trying to apply that into the digital experience, where there's much more of a guided experience, where we're prompting you with questions, and that you don't feel alone in a complex journey. And so overcoming some of our legacy technology and systems and capabilities to transform the experience it's quite a lift, and we're in progress of doing that. And so I'm super excited about the transformation that's to come later, a little bit later this year. But that there's a lift there. There's entrenched technology, there's technical debt that every retailer has. And those things are barriers and stand in the way of moving even faster than where we are today.
Completely. You kind of have to unlearn, or like take apart the machine to then rebuild the machine, which is harder than just building the machine from scratch.
And having the courage to change and to overhaul. I think once it's clear to everybody the why, then really the challenge is more just the actual how and the timing. Leapfrogging yourself is really, really hard and important to do, and never just accepting what you have as what you need, and always reconciling where you should be versus where you are, and being, it's okay to be frustrated with that gap, and turn that frustration into action, and move quickly to solve for that.
Completely. How do you bring your team, the broader team, along for the ride in that? Because with any large change means that everybody needs to get used to that change, which is not an easy task. And so there's the technical component of it, but what about the human component of that? How are you approaching that element of the change?
So I think about what are our objectives, and we start with our noble purpose is actually to help people sleep well so that they can live well. So if you start there, and then you reconcile to what are our objectives, right? So our objectives are around, of course, traditional retail objectives, sales, and all of that, all the financials, customer experience. All of a sudden, you're not operating around as a functional leader. You're operating around like a steward of the business. And so some of the changes that we're introducing really are rooted in not a functional goal. Yes, we're in charge of developing a lot of these strategies and ultimately implementing them and changing both the sleep expert experience and the customer experience. But it's a lot easier to do when you have alignment with your peers. That all of these changes that you're driving not only are important for our collective goals, but that they and their teams are going to be critical partners to making that happen. And
Mm-hmm.
so I always try to look at it and not operate as a functional leader, but as a steward of the business with partners and peers, because and as long as you have that mindset, it's not about us versus the world or trying to force change or drive change. It's really shaping and influencing change and bringing partners on board and making sure that their perspectives and their teams and their experience and their inputs are a part of that change. That makes it a lot
Mm-hmm.
easier because
Mm-hmm.
you get a better result because it's more
Yeah.
informed and it's less of a closed loop. And so I think that's just my general approach.
Mm-hmm. Bringing everyone along for the ride. We need to be
Sounds
working as a
super
team.
easy. It sounds super easy. Like, yeah, why wouldn't that make sense? Why wouldn't you just do that?
Yeah.
Harder in practice, but that's where you start because if you don't have that alignment and you don't have that partnership, and we're not all agreeing around the same outcomes for our sleep experts or for our customers,
Yeah.
stuff goes sideways.
Completely. And it just takes longer and it's harder and slower. And yeah, you got to get everyone aligned.
Even if you keep going, then the definition of success isn't clear if you're not aligned up front. And so you could be
Yeah.
claiming that, we've hit our objectives with this, but everyone's not there. And so really important to get
Mm-hmm.
that alignment up front.
Mm-hmm. Completely. I think planning and just planning is the key thing there for me in my experience is making sure that we have those really clear goals. We have everyone that's been listened to. We can take all the insights that we have, we know what people care about, and we can really like create a path that includes all of those thoughts while also has a very clear direction that everyone is aware of and aligned with. Sometimes we have to go slow to go fast in these types of cases.
And you have to check your biases, right? You have to
Mm-hmm.
have that feedback loop. The qualitative insights, the feedback from the field in our
Yeah.
case, uh, the data driven feedback around testing and just overall results.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to constantly be auditing your biases or your perceptions. What I find is we're all well intentioned, but
Yeah.
the feedback loops sometimes you have to just be more intentional about opening up and
Yeah.
having that constantly inform how you're thinking about those changes that you're trying to implement.
Completely. Completely. As I'm sure you are aware, companies today have more customer data than ever, which is great. But then how do you actually use all of that data at scale? Salesforce's Data Cloud can help by giving teams a single source of truth for every customer. Ready to get started? Work with leading Salesforce experts from professional services. Visit salesforce.com/products/data to learn more. So I would be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about sleep, something that's incredibly important for all of us. And you guys are obviously the experts. And so I wanted to touch a little bit on one, your partnership with Sleep Score Labs and what that means for your business. And then we're going to get into a little bit more sleepy stuff
Yeah.
so we can all know how we can improve our own sleep.
Well, I'll share a personal story. It's actually, sleep health and sleep wellness is very personal to me. And it's actually one of the big reasons I decided to join Mattress Firm.
Mm,
I have sleep apnea. I struggle with sleep in general. And a lot of retailers have great intentions and noble purposes. And I shared with
mm-hmm.
you what ours is around helping people sleep well so that they can live well. But actually, with our size and scale and over 30% share of the market, like we actually can impact America's sleep. And that is the most exciting thing about it because we have the scale to actually influence people's sleep health and wellness. And if you look at Google Trends and you look at the 4 pillars of wellness, so nutrition, activity, fitness, and sleep, sleep by far exceeds those search trends. It's just what people are spending more and more time realizing, that sleep is increasingly an important part of their health, and it's not a weakness to sleep. Um, and so it's crazy.
Newsflash.
Yeah, no, I know, but it years ago, not too long ago, it was like a badge of courage to say, "Oh, I don't need, I only got 4 hours of sleep last night. I don't need sleep." And so
Oh,
I think
completely.
that paradigm is shifting. Um,
Yeah.
and so our Sleep Score Labs relationship, for those of your listeners that don't know Sleep Score Labs, they're this powerhouse organization in San Diego, and they do peer-reviewed scientific experiments and testing on sleep intervention products and services. And so
Mm.
it's really the only way we see in the market where you get reliable, peer-reviewed academic data from tests around, different sleep solutions. So it might be in our case where they're testing mattresses, one mattress versus another, or a combination of sleep solutions, pillow size, pillow loft, pillow content, and sleep surface. Very, very sophisticated testing and data. And they combine that with the over 1 million users of the sleep.com app, which is Mattress Firm's app. We own sleep.com. We own the sleep.com app through our relationship with Sleep Score Labs. So they're really the sleep data and insight provider that helps us really translate that knowledge to helping our customers understand better, not only better sleep habits, but the products and the interventions that they can start to employ to sleep better. And we
Mm.
also want to provide that for our sleep experts so that as they're working with the customers in the store, they can bring that context into that decision. Um,
Mm.
and so that's a massive differentiator for Mattress Firm. There is no other source of that sleep expertise that brings that data, those insights, and the products and services together in the way that we do. And I think we're only getting
Hmm.
started.
I mean, it's so interesting that we can be tracking these things now, that we can actually see, okay, I don't feel super sharp today, and I can go and see how my sleep was last night. And I mean, then the next level of it, which is what you're describing, is like, which mattress is best for me individually to get that great sleep? What pillow do I need? What things do I need in order to actually deliver that sleep easier and better for my unique needs? I think it's so exciting that we're getting to this place in technology where we can have access to that information. And it makes so much sense that this is where you guys are going.
Yeah, and I think most people don't connect the two, right? Like most people
Mm-hmm.
think about the mattress as just sort of that utility. It's I either want soft or firm or medium, or I just need to replace it when I start to see it sag. Like
Yeah.
it's so much more than that. And the technology, while not software driven technology, the technology in the fabric, in the textiles and the fabrications and in the production, we have beds that are for side sleepers. We have beds for people with sleep apnea. Then you introduce
Mm-hmm.
the idea of an adjustable base that can connect with your sleep app, that can detect you snoring, and it moves you through the night so that your airwaves open and you don't snore and you don't wake up your partner. I mean, it is not your mattress buying experience from even 10 years ago or 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And software is not the dominant player, although there are some beds that are starting to incorporate, those sensor technologies in them.
Mm-hmm.
It's still pretty
Yeah.
niche, but it is how technology and the sleep data and the coaching that can come along with that starting to now integrate with the foundations, the bases, and really help you sleep better. I mean, at the end of the day, what success looks like for us is, are you sleeping better? longer, and better quality. And we can help you measure that. And
Mm-hmm.
no other retailer can put all of that together with the
Mm-hmm.
with the data, with the rigor around it. And so, like I said, I think we're just getting started with our capabilities here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's amazing. So we're almost at time, but I'm wondering if you can spend just 1 minute, 2 minutes giving us a masterclass in sleep. A quick one. What do we need to be thinking about to get the best possible sleep?
Number one is consistency. Trying to go to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, even if it's the
Mm-hmm.
weekend. Number two, super dark room. Like invest in those blackout shades. Keep the room temperature at 65 degrees, and make sure your mattress and your pillow all all are working against your sleep disruptors and for your sleep preferences.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're snoring a lot, get that sleep test. Make sure you don't have sleep apnea. About a third of Americans have sleep apnea, and most
Mm-hmm.
are diagnosed. And so
Yep.
that's a real fast. It's a real fast. I wouldn't call it a master class. I'd call it key tips.
Yeah, completely. I am someone who I thought I can sleep anywhere. I don't need a great mattress or a great pillow. Like I'm good. And then I invested in a good mattress and a good pillow, and I have to say my life is totally changed, and I never want to sleep anywhere other than my own bed because it's just a world of difference.
I just bought a new mattress, or my wife and I did, and for me, my issue is I need something cooler because it's like an oven for
Mm-hmm.
me.
Yeah.
And now there's beds that deliver 10-degree cooler than your room temperature. And I was so like, there's no way. I was very skeptical,
Yeah.
and it delivers, and it has made a huge difference for me. And
Yeah.
so, like, the technology around the construction, the fabrications actually deliver that type of game changing night of sleep for me. And
Mm-hmm.
it just adds even more optimism to where I think this industry is going.
Yeah, completely. Cool. Well, I am so excited to see where everything heads for you and for Mattress Firm. I'm definitely following along, and I'm going to go and chat with some of your experts. I feel like there's a lot of knowledge within your space that I would love to have. I have one last question for you that we ask every single guest. What is one piece of advice that every customer experience leader should hear?
Don't lead with technology. It's so tempting to do it. It's so tempting
Mm-hmm.
to find that technology and go look for a problem to go solve, or a solution to go towards that technology. Don't lose focus on what the customer needs and why they value you and how you can deliver more value to them, and then bring in technology and process and everything else to support that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I really am passionate about the fundamentals, and I can't think of anything more fundamental than that advice.
It's so good. Thank you so much, George. It's been such a pleasure to have you on the show. And for all of our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, please let us know with a quick subscribe or a rating wherever you're listening to your podcasts. We so appreciate your support. Well, I hope you have a wonderful day, George. And to everyone listening, you as well.
Great to be with you, Lauren. Thank you.